Good evening, everyone. My name is Christian Sorensen. I'm a Democratic Party of Evanston board member. Um, uh, Ms. Savage Williams, why don't you take a couple of minutes to tell our members a little bit about yourself, your background, and why you are running for re-election for school board.
Thank you. So my name is Pat Savage Williams. I've been on the school board now for almost 8 years. I can't believe it's been that long. So I have really enjoyed my work on the school board. It can be very challenging, um, but my heart is with schools and with students. It's kind of like it's my life, my adult life. And I was in school before I became an adult. So I really do appreciate the work that ETHS is doing. And I am there because I support the work that ETHS is doing. I really support the work around student achievement and equity. I think that especially in this climate and during this time, I just happen to believe that's one of the most important factors in all of our lives, for all of us. So I call us all to think deeper about that. And ETHS has done well, but ETHS still has a ways to go. So there's still work to be done around equity, and um, and I want to be there for it. I want to continue to be a part of it and be there. I feel like um, the school is incredible. The staff and faculty are amazing and extremely hard workers. And I can't speak to anything these days without talking about the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic. I just feel like um, it has changed everybody's life, and it certainly changed life at ETHS. And I know that I know that the faculty has worked extremely hard to pivot and um, and change the way we do everything. And the faculty has done that, and I'm impressed. We had a board meeting Monday night and really listened to all of the work that is being done, and the curriculum, as well as the preparations for a transition to hybrid. So there's a lot. There's a lot there. There's a lot to unpack. There's always so much to do and think about. But I'm just looking forward to continuing my work at
Wonderful.
ETHS on the school board.
Yeah. This is unsurprisingly, our first couple of questions are on the pandemic. So thank you for that wonderful segue.
Sure.
Do you believe that the accommodations provided to help students remote learn so far have been adequate? What changes, if any, would you like to see made to the way that program happened?
Well, what I would say about the remote learning is that, as you know, in March, when this happened very suddenly, uh, it was a lot. It was hard, and I have never seen teachers work so hard in my life. I feel like for all teachers, no matter how long they've been teaching, my analogy is that everybody's a second year teacher. A first year teacher, everyone knows they don't quite know what to do, but by the second year, folks know what should happen, but they still have trouble doing it. And so that's my feeling about ETHS and the teachers there. They're all second year teachers. However, by now, and with the time and all of the resources that the school has regarding the technology, all the work that was done over the summer, the teachers spent a lot of hours in professional development, thinking and learning about what to do and how to do it. There has been so many resources shared among teachers. So Yes, I think it's as good as it can be in remote. And anybody who has been listening to our school board meetings, and I'm sure the whole town has because there's like nothing else to do and nothing more exciting. But you've heard us say that the best teaching happens in person, and we know how to do in person. And that really is our best way to connect with students, and we know how to do that. The second best teaching happens fully remote because we can concentrate fully on who's on the screen and what to do and how to connect. And we have everything happening remote now. All of our support services, our social work, our speech, everything is happening remotely now. So that's the second best. The third best is the hybrid. And the reason that is a challenge is because you have students in front of you and you have students on the screen. So there are just a number of challenges with hybrid. There's the issue of making sure that the students in front of you are attending, and also in this environment they have to be socially distanced. So they have to be 6 feet apart and all from all angles. They all have to face forward. So there's no more of that U-shaped classroom, which I really like, but everybody has a face forward, and there's a plexiglass, everybody wears masks. So all of that's happening at the same time. Then you'll have 75% of the students on the screen doing Zoom. And so that's a lot, and a lot to manage, because all of the tools that teachers will use will have to be shareable, either screen share, or they have to be able to, students have to be able to access them. So the entire class. There's an issue with sound. So the students on Zoom have to be able to hear any conversations that go on in the room. So there's a lot still of technology. And so those are the challenges, Kristen, that I anticipate, I know, um, that the school will have. Those are, let me just put it this way, those are a few of the challenges that the school will have when we transition to hybrid. It is important to transition to hybrid because we want as many students as possible to be in the building. We want to give our students the opportunity, the experience to be in the building. So we're looking at when we can do it, and that depends on the numbers and what's safe. We have no intention of putting people at risk. Although I can say that we're not looking for 100% guarantee everybody's going to be safe. We know that that it's risky. Everything is risky. Every time I step out of my door to go to a store or to Walgreens, I'm taking a risk. So we know that. But anyway, that's a long answer. I hope I answered your
Yes,
question.
ma'am. No, well, and you answered the next one too, so I can skip the next one. You're cruising. So specifically, when thinking about this, how do you, as a board member, plan to address any disparity between the economically or racially disadvantaged students in the district and those in more privileged households, as it pertains to that hybrid model?
Well, at this point, our students now all have the technology that they need in order to be able to be remote. So we've been doing that, and we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to distribute materials. Teachers will continue to have times when they distribute workbooks and handouts and any materials, science lab. Teachers are making sure kids have access to materials. So we'll continue doing that. Um, in terms of making sure that students have access, we know that some students and some families will choose to remain remote, and we will provide that opportunity for them they choose to remain remote. Um, and so once again, those students who choose to remain remote, we will continue to support them and teach them in that setting. So this is still being planned and worked out. So I don't have all the answers. As a school board member, my role isn't necessarily to get in there and make the plans. That's done really by the faculty and the administration. I will continue to ask questions and I will continue to have conversations, particularly with the superintendent when I need to. And if I see something that I don't understand, they're really good about getting back to me and helping me understand and talking to me until I get it.
Wonderful. That is good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right. So let's fast forward beyond the hybrid model to the post-pandemic approach. How will we, how can the board approach school potentially in the fall if kids have had these different experiences? Where now you'll have a population of kids who've been in person for longer. Um, you know, how do you have there been conversations about how the board is going to approach that situation?
And the vaccine, the
Yeah, well,
vaccine,
that's I mean, fingers crossed for a fully normal post-pandemic fall. I think that's what
yes,
everyone,
yes.
I think that's what everyone's hoping for. But like, so let's put on our optimist hats and assume that we're there. Um, the board's having strategic conversations with staff. How has that come up, and how would you approach as a board member or your role in keeping those different experiences moving forward for kids?
So we've been talking a lot already about what are some components of the pandemic that will stay. What have we learned? In fact, part of my opening day speech to the faculty and staff was really based on what are we learning? What have we learned about ourselves? What have we learned about how we operate? What have we learned about our values that will stick? So when I'll be very honest with you, when I hear things going back to normal,
Mhm.
I'm hoping they don't go back the way they were, because the way things were wasn't always good, and sort of those disparities were huge in our community. They're all over the country, and people are suffering. Everyone has been suffering as a result. So I'm hoping that when we come back and the vaccine has been administered to enough people that we can feel safe coming back.
Sure.
I'm hoping that we can come back and really reflect on what we've experienced and what we learned and what we keep. And I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't know for sure because like I said, the planning is still happening, but I wouldn't be surprised if the school keeps some component of some options for students and for families, because now we know, and believe me, for years, public schools, and ETHS and other schools have said, "Oh, we can't do online learning." No, we don't do that. So, but we've been doing that for a while, and we've been doing it pretty doggone well. So we might do some thinking about that. Um, we just might do some thinking about I don't know, how teachers connect with students. I certainly would hope that relationships really are a huge part of, and it always has been. Well-being has been a part of our goals. It's actually our second goal, but I'm hoping that there's more um, emphasis even on just really developing relationships. I don't know. I'll be interested to see what sticks. Um, how much are testing and assessment and standardized testing? how important are those things? Really, how important are those things? You know, really, how, I don't know. Maybe we might want to think a little bit about that. And my guess is that ETHS won't be alone, and high school level won't be alone. I would guess that the college boards might be thinking a little deeper about the assessment process and the emphasis that they put on that. And what are we gonna ask and expect from students? So then students come back to a different world. And my guess, and this is just me, I don't have any way to test this, but my guess is that when students apply for college, they, instead of them being asked, so how great did you do in high school, they will be asked questions like, what did you learn during the pandemic? What did you do during the pandemic? How did you care for yourself? How did you take care of your family members during the pandemic? So I think those kind of questions and those reflections will just continue. We're going to be, you know, I've said this a lot, we're going to be talking about this for the rest of our lives. This has changed, this will change everything. Not to say that along with, I
Oh,
had in a way in this country that we cannot, we cannot ignore. So so there's another conversation, a very deep conversation. And in some ways, the coronavirus, the pandemic, there's a vaccine for that. There is no vaccine for racism. And so I don't necessarily see the racism ending by the end of the calendar year 2021. I wish I did, but I don't. So I think that we will be talking about that as well.
yeah, excellent. So we can move away from the pandemic for a second. A couple more questions. The Department of Education publishes data about the disparities in education between student populations, including on the grounds of race and disability. How do you feel about the district's performance on these metrics?
So ETHS has been working to address the disparities based on race. Actually, that's since I came on the board. It was 2011 that we adopted our equity statement and changed the way we do things, got rid of tracking um, for for some of the classes because we wanted to make sure that we offered opportunities to more Black and Brown students when they became um, juniors and seniors. And that has taken us on a path that I believe has exceeded most school districts that I am familiar with. All of our teachers have done training around equity and race and help deepen their understanding. Every member of our school has been asked to consider these issues, and we disaggregate all of our data by race. And so we look at this. One of the things that I am most proud of at ETHS is that we're not afraid to ask the tough questions around race. I I am very appreciative of the school board and the faculty and administration that whenever we have a presentation, the presenters talk about race and how race. So even if we're talking about something like the golf team, they're talking about, so race, or we might ask a question about, so how is this foreign travel, which of course none of us are doing these days, but how is this foreign travel, how are we going to make sure that students who are of a different race, or who have different economic status. How are they going to have access to this? So we ask those questions, and believe me, they have answers because that's been discussed. So these conversations happen all the time at ETHS. And I would even venture to say that when we started doing work on race and equity and started bringing in organizations to help us think about this and our Beyond Diversity program, we were the only agency in Evanston doing it. And it was not easy because there were some people who thought we were doing too much, or we made people too uncomfortable, because some of the conversations are uncomfortable. They are definitely uncomfortable. I am not afraid of having those conversations because I think they're important. And I just, as I said earlier, I believe it's the only way as a society we're going to move forward. And the longer we avoid them, the more harm done. So this is our obligation to our students. And our students, believe me, are able to have these conversations. Sometimes they do better than the staff. I hear some of those kids talk and I think, wow, I could not have spoken like that when I was 16. They are amazing because they've had so much practice and they've been thinking about this and they've heard their teachers. And so they're thinking and learning, and we give them opportunities and skills and tools so that they can be a part of it.
Absolutely. Um, so in a similar vein, what is something that you've done personally as a board member to center students who are part of historically marginalized communities?
So I feel like it is what I do as an African American woman. I came on the board really because I wanted to be a part of the equity work at the school, and I have always been a part of the equity work. So I've encouraged it as appropriately as I can as a board member. I ask questions, and make sure, as president of the board, make sure other board members have access to the opportunities to learn and understand it a little bit better. Um, I think I'm known in the community for the work that I do around equity, and the training that I lead around equity. So I lead the training in the community, not at ETHS. That would be too weird, but I do lead it in the community, um, and just really take the time to look at the data that we have and try to figure out how we can support the students who are struggling academically, look at the discipline data that we have, and try to figure out how we can work and get better with that as well.
Sure. So in your role as a board member, um, uh, what other conversations have you been a part of regarding, the responsibilities of the district to students who are transitioning genders? I know that there have been some specific bullying incidents. Um, Maybe talking a little bit about your experience as a board member in that area.
So we have tried to be very intentional about making sure that we provide students with alternatives, students who are transitioning gender with alternatives. What we've learned is that we need to make sure that we listen to what students want and what they need. Some students want privacy. Some students want to be in certain parts of the school, and others don't. So we try to make sure that we have many alternatives for students who are transitioning. And then if we don't, then we try to hear from them and their families so that we can offer it to them. So for all of our for incoming freshmen, I always attend the orientation for them, for students who choose to come and who are transitioning, or students who identify the way they identify. So I attend the meeting, and because I want them to see me and I want them to hear me welcome them to ETHS. So we do that, and then just really offer as much personal connection as possible. We have an administrator who is in charge of working with students, and she does a pretty amazing job.
Yes. Good. Excellent. How does the district plan to increase graduation rates for special education students? Was a question from one of our members.
Um, so special education students will continue to work with special ed students. We offer um, many opportunities for students for graduation, and to be honest, we're looking at these benchmarks for students even prior to their entry into ETHS. We want to make sure that we know where they are, what classes they're taking, and how successful they are in those classes even before they get to ETHS. So we'll continue to do that, and we offer quite a bit of support for all of our students. Our system of support is pretty amazing. So we have Wildcat Academy that we offer on Saturdays. We're still doing all this stuff virtually, by the way. Um, Teachers are available to meet with students before school. So we are really working hard to connect with students. Um, Here I go again, getting back into the pandemic. We have reached out to all students who struggle with engagement. So students in special education have a case manager. They have someone specifically assigned to them, a faculty member, a special education teacher, who works with them, develops a trusting relationship with them, and really gets to know their patterns and their needs. And then they become a team, because there may be other people in the special ed department who are also supportive and help work with those students. So those teachers are really some of the strongest teachers I've worked with. They're really good because they know how to work with students who struggle for whatever reason, as well as develop relationships with them. They recognize, and they've always recognized, the importance of developing relationships with those students.
Yeah, wonderful.
So we'll continue to do that.
Excellent. Do you feel that the budget process at District 202 is transparent and accessible both to the parents and to the community at large? What, if any, changes would you like to see made to the process?
So at the board meeting on Monday, we just we looked at a document that we used to send out to all families around the budget. It's a smaller document. It's about 25 pages, but it really explains ETHS and how we spend money, and it's an excellent document. This year, because of the pandemic, we didn't send it to all the families, but we made it available online, and it's a nice little document. It's very transparent, and that's the award that we won. We won that. We've won this award, and the award is given to our CFO and that whole department, because they are so good at showing and demonstrating to the public, to the community, how we do the budget. So it's an excellent award, and what did I hear? there are only 25 school districts in the state of Illinois that get this award. So, so we won 2 awards, and those 2 awards were presented at the meeting. So yes, lots of transparency around the budget.
All right. So I say this all the time. Working in government, it's important to remember that priority is a singular word. You can only have one of them. So when you first joined the board, what was your priority? Do you feel that you've achieved that goal? And if you have, what's your current priority?
Okay, one priority. Just one?
Just one.
Okay, that's okay, because I can make it really nice and broad. So my priority has been and will always be achieving racial equity. And have I achieved it? No. No, it's ongoing. And I've got one of those t-shirts that says erase racism, because it hasn't happened yet. So that's my priority, and I will continue to work endlessly, relentlessly in order to do that. I will continue to talk about it, teach about it, learn about it. And we've got some incredible resources in this community, the Family Action Network, and all those amazing people that Lonnie brings into our community. I have gotten to see some of the most incredible speakers in the country. So I'm eternally grateful. The books that I read. So yeah, so I'll continue to do all of that.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. And the last one is a yin and yang type thing. So which of the board's decisions do you most disagree with, and which decisions of the board are you most proud of?
So I'm most proud of the work around equity. Most proud of that. And the board's ongoing commitment to do that. I can't think of a decision that I most disagree with right now. I'll have to really think about that. We're a school board, so we act as one. And if we struggle, we have conversations and talk about it and listen, which I do. So I really can't think of one thing that I would lift up as something that I completely disagree with. What I like to see us do more of is talk more as a board about what we're doing, and maybe lift that up more, so that the community can hear some of the board's goals and how we're working through some of this stuff. Just more community engagement kind of thing. But I don't disagree that we haven't done it, because I understand why we haven't done it. So that would be one thing that I would think about for the future.
Well, that is the extent of our questions. Thank you so much for taking some time. Again, it's my favorite kind of race where you're uncontested, but that doesn't mean that the answers are less important. It's very important to interact with the public, right? We are one community, and I'm a townie, so I can say at the heart of our community is Evanston Township High School. So
absolutely, I agree.
Thank you for your service, and so we're gonna post our videos starting on Saturday.
Okay.
Or Sunday, and then people will do their endorsements, and we'd love to have you stop by the endorsement session. It'll be the 23rd, sometime in the late afternoon. Come give your minute and a half pitch and hear from the other community members that are running for the other races, and then we'll wrap up at the end of the night with the vote totals for everything else that's contested going out to everyone. So that's the game plan. So thank you so much, and I wish you a lovely rest of your Wednesday evening.
All right, thank you, and it's really good to see you. Nice meeting you. Take care. Bye-bye.